Welcome everybody to our forecast into August 2018 energies. So this is pretty intense right now. This is something that on top of our energetic sensitivity here as empaths, so on top of all of that, we also, especially now after these like almost two consecutive months of this extreme, this schismatic, dualistic energy, we're getting really tired out. We're getting really exhausted. So it's a bit of dangerous time for us in that regards, because when as energetically sensitives, what happens to your energy when you get too stressed out, that's when you fall back into your old patterns. That's when the ego is basically ruling, your perception, your decision making, and also the way you see reality and your future. It's also kind of invigorating at the same time, right? However, and this will be way showing here, foreboding really for August energies, we can learn to direct it, to channel it, to navigate it, and how to see, okay, I'm going into distraction, all right, then I have to redirect it. Oh, I'm going into tantrum, okay, then I may have to distract it a little, okay? So there's things that we can do here as self-healers that for the most part, many of us are new to these modalities, but that doesn't mean that we don't have these tools already in us, as empaths, as energetically sensitives, as humans, because those talents are innate to all of us. But we just got to learn how to apply them more wisely, if you will, okay? And this will be challenged a bit here, or is being challenged right now. What are the resonances that we need to tune into to be able to deal with these energies that are coming in from the outside? And one of the big ones that we could identify here in this last week, to engage. It goes hand in hand with what was said earlier, namely not to resist it, not to go into hiding, not to go and try to control it or overpower it. This is not going to work. We have to engage. So the next month, guys, August 2018, will be very much in the sign of learning how to wield, how to apply, and how to become congruent with this new technology developing and growing and refining within us that we call energetic sensitivity, that we call spiritual awakening, that we call collective evolution. And this is a tough one, really, because when we are, and this counts for all of us, still caught in our ego perception, then this creates or can create quite a bit of turmoil. And this is what is going on right now. So these energies here that have been cooking all summer, this like a pressure cooker, intensified, speeding up intense energy that we have been perceiving here for the last 2 months almost, feels like we're like literally cooking in our own juices. And this is coming to the pinnacle now, all right? There's a lot of new stuff that wants to come in. There's a lot of new raw life force coming in. We talked about upgrade and, many other sort of teachings or schools talk about portals and stuff like that. So these things actually can be observed in the etheric, okay? This is actually the case. And in the article, The Incoming Energies for August, I mentioned something like a quantum leap energy. So to get into the next level of things, it always requires us to go, a little bit into this unbearable resistance, into this unbearable type of pain can then activate enough energy, and that energy is relatively raw in the beginning, to get past that, to break through that. Okay, so we are right there right now. The first week of August is going to be insane in that way. And so surreal, and this is the cool part, and this is where, you know, I'm really, really, really enjoying my job, working, you know, with energetically sensitives and empaths, and, you know, having this community. You know, it's such an honor, really, you know, to be in these energies with people who are able to see through, you know, a lot of that. Not all of that, you know, because we're all in this learning, in this self-mastery training right now. It's so surreal that the only conclusion that is left is that life and this existence here and this learning experience is an adventure, it's like a divine comedy. A divine comedy reminding us, you know, to not take things too seriously, especially, of course, our ego. All right, because that's the one that says, me, it's all about me. Why me? You know, why me now? Why do I? You know, yes. Your ego is what makes it all about you. But if you can actually zoom out and go into the larger perspective and trust in your higher guidance, which allows you to contextualize things from this larger perspective, this sort of what's the greater momentum that is going on here, then you can actually begin to laugh about it. And you can say, oh my God, I can't believe I fell for my ego again. Oh my God, this is like really, really funny. But this requires us to have a liberated inner child, if you will, because see, what keeps people in this perpetual ego, separation, suffering, pain, fear, all or nothing dual state is all the karmic and the past pain that we've experienced that is still unhealed. So for as long as we are unhealed in, you know, our inner child wounds and some of the karmic stuff that is not aware to us yet, these ego patterns, okay, that are there for a good reason. They're there to protect us, to keep us alive, you know, to allow us to cope. But they're not there to make us happy. This is what most people misunderstand about the ego. And now we'll be challenged here in August a lot. So one problem, of course, is to tune into the right guidance. You know, what do I even want? You know, what is my passion? What are my goals? A lot of that is shifting here now, especially in the first week or two in August. But the other aspect is, well, how do I want it? You know, what's the quality of all of that? What is fulfilling for me? What is aligning me to the highest expression of my potential? Where can I, you know, really also go into presenting myself to the world in a healing way? Perhaps even, you know, offering, you know, healing to others. But not from an ego perspective, not from a specialness perspective, not from, you know, well, look at me, I'm a healer. That would be the unhealed healer. The unhealed healer is the healer with unresolved ego, the unresolved inner child, you know, the attention seeker, the person who needs validation, the person who has insecure attachment and needs, the other people looking up to them. So not that one, but the true sort of a liberated healer, the liberated warrioness, the liberated mother, the liberated father, the liberated divine child that can see the world as a wondrous miracle and just like really enjoy the ride, but without being irresponsible. Taking responsibility is one of the big aspects here for August. To own up to our own energy, to own up to our patterns, to our unhealthy patterns, to the stuff that we already know that doesn't work, to the things that we engage with or in that are no longer serving us and we know it, but we try to wiggle our way or trick our way through it. It won't work. It won't work in August, guys, because that would be incongruent. And anything that is incongruent is gonna slap you in the face. So August is all about trusting in our inner guidance. And if you don't know yet how to access that, how to access our true inner guidance, then of course learning, how to access inner guidance, to let go of all this like externalized, way of letting other people tell you what's good for you, or what sort of mystical or astrological or spirit or animal or whatever you are. To stop letting other people tell you who you are and what you need. And at the same time, seeing all of this as an opportunity to evolve and to refine, to engage with it like you would in a game. Not in a gamble, but a game. I don't know about you guys. Personally, I have a very, very cool connection to this part in me. I love any kind of game boards, card games, any kind of game. It's such a beautiful opportunity to practice neutrality, to be in the present, to enjoy the process. It's not about winning. It's about the process of not knowing what comes next. So to really go into this like curiosity and see this chaos that is unfolding around you as a dance, okay? And you can't wait to see what the next move is. And then go within, go into deeper reflection, let this all go through you. You don't need to be afraid of that. You can center in your heart. You know your space. You know how to give space. And breathe into it, and then ask your inner guidance, I wonder what the best way to react to that is. And that's then responding. That's then adaptability. Those are different energies, higher vibratory expressions of reacting and coping. So non-reaction is another of these themes here for August. And really appreciating, the process itself. There'll be lots of new situations, guys, and we will be forced to make decisions. We had a lot of practice here in those past 8 weeks. Conscious decision making. This has to do with your willingness to take responsibility for your energy and for your journey. These next 4 to 6 weeks, they're going to determine quite a bit of your future. A lot of people are in these 7-year cycles. It starts a new 7-year cycle. So remember this one thing. You have to stand for something, or else you'll fall for anything. This is particularly important here for this really strong influx of new spirituality, of this practical spirituality that people are and now developing with this global awakening. Okay, so it used to be all religious. It used to be all New Age, which was basically a variation of institutionalized religion, just sort of the anti-movement to it. But as you all know, when you resist something, when you're anti something, then you're still in it. You're still energizing it. There's this influx of a really new, liberated way of spirituality coming in that is based on accessing our inner self-healing abilities, our inner higher power, our true source of power that makes us feel whole and that heals all these wounds of separation. The cause of the root cause for all the suffering in this world. Not belonging, not being loved, not being appreciated, or even being damned or, expelled. Those are the core wounds of humanity, and they're reflected in this dualistic, in the duality of our humanness. And so what we've talked about in the beginning, with accepting it, engaging it, loving it, that takes a sense of humor sometimes, But most and foremost, it takes our willingness to accept our ego as part of our limitations and to understand that our ego is not possible to heal itself. Our ego is not possible to see beyond itself. So you're going to have to make that quantum leap into okay, whatever I've been trying to apply here over these last, decades, couldn't work because it was still based on ego. If I want to make this shift into truth and living truth, then I have to be willing to accept that my ego and its perception is limited and let go of that, especially for most of you, this mental fixation. So another one of these natures or these energies here for August is to consciously observe and witness our ego's meltdown, the death of our ego. And if you can get through this with grace, and stand there and not go into the chaos that is unfolding around you, these outer forces that are pounding you, all right? And if you can just sit there and say, okay, all right, well, I guess it's like global ego melting down, because that's really what it is, with the variations in our different collectives and our different nations, countries, and cultures. And so the only thing that can get you through this is this out of the box. Learn how to not just think, but also feel and live out of the box. Okay, this is not just a mental thing, guys. Don't fall into, the last hurrah of your ego, because that's really what it is, and believe that your ego mind has this all figured out, or can this figure out. No, it can't. Coming to these insights through a severe true self-promptings, as I call it, which could include near-death experiences, accidents, like really intense wake-up calls, which could be seen as a spiritual emergency, a spiritual emergence, in the most sort of death or life type of way. Okay, and these energies are going to be triggered here in August in the collective. And so we need to know how to allow all that to unfold, and especially in relationships, watching other people go through this is not fun either. You can sit there in your in your Zen Om state, right? Do I am breathing, and it will be even more obvious for you when other people go through this. But you got to be careful not to feel superior, not to judge others going through this. You've been there not too long ago, so just remember that. Have respect for other people's journeys, have compassion, and understand that this quantum leap that I talked about is literally like red pilling yourself. That you will open up for things that you couldn't see before. So what point is it when you judge other people that are not seeing this yet? It's not because they're not getting it. It's not an intellectual, it's not a conceptual journey. This is the journey of feeling things. This is the journey of trusting. This is the journey of allowing, of forgiving, of softness, of giving space, of healing, of unconditional love, of allowing, and ultimately, of course, self-expression. So what you see here on your screen, most of you are familiar with this, is something that we use as a practical tool to identify where our energies are at. Because of this ego mind's delusion, sometimes it's very difficult, to judge where we're at when we are in it. This isn't actually possible until you get past this first threshold here of truth. So when you know how to practice neutrality, when you know how to be tuned into the witnesser in you, and when you know how to let go the attachment to the ego, then you can see truth. Then you don't really need this anymore, okay? But when you are caught in ego states, all right, and you can't feel the connection to your true self, then it can be very difficult sometimes to realize, whether we are in a low vibratory or high vibratory place. Because our ego mind will, of course, create this illusion that we are working on healing and we are working on all these spiritual goals and enlightenment and ascension and all that, right? But we're angry all the time. We have disdain towards all these people that don't get it yet. Okay, well, the truth of your energetic state is that you are here and not here. Okay, and so August is the month of congruence. So the red pilling will bring in the truth of that, and you'll be able to see that, your incongruences. And now it's a matter of choice. You're beginning to see that you're incongruent, that you're not in truth, and that the way you're expressing it is not really the way you want it deep down. How you really truly see yourself. Some false self thing or some ego thing that you're doing there with that. You're going to be able to pierce through that. It's quite painful, actually. And so by learning how to become congruent and this addressing some of the issues that you mentioned here in the beginning in the chat, it will trigger, these fourth, fifth, well, it's actually third, fourth, fifth, and sixth chakra issues to become more real. And if we want to, or real and applicable and practical, okay, so one of the last energies that are coming in here for August too, it's the later half of August, is applying, really applying all the learned, but not to become too rigid about it again, not to become too controlling about it again. So here you have the balance aspect again. So learning and research is a big subject for August, but at the same time, not to go into this like immediate, oh, I got it figured out. If I just become a vegan, then I'm on my path to enlightenment. This rigidity, guys. You don't have to be a vegan or a vegetarian to you know, to arrive in your heart consciousness. It can be conducive though. So most people who do live in their heart stay away from animal products. So it's not that you staying away from animal products is getting you there. No, it's the other way around. That's the out of the box. You will not feel attracted to it, or you will feel that it doesn't resonate with you, or that it's not conducive for you. That is no more congruent, no longer congruent to you. You don't need to worry about these rigid principles. Oh, I have to do yoga. Oh, I have to do this. Oh, I have to do more of this. No, this would be imbalanced, guys. This is too forced. This is too controlled, too masculine. You go, you play the game, you watch what happens, observe, be patient, stay in your center, and then you let this go through you, and you'll feel what the next step is and how you need to approach this. And you learn how to trust in that. You learn how to trust in the balance and in congruence. Symmetry. So symmetry, convergence and syntropy, those are the counter energies to chaos and entropy. And for those of you who are into, metaphysics and alchemy and all that, that's the healing resonance for August. It's always the healing resonance, to be honest, because it's just a different way of saying center in your heart, stay in your heart. But this alchemical transmutation process is in full motion right now. So for me personally, having been a chemist, it's a cool process. I can totally tune into that sort of curiosity, oh, then let's put this and this together and see what happens. Sure. It's explosive sometimes. Sure. We may come to the conclusion that this was not such a good idea, but we've learned an important lesson. So appreciate the learning experience, make this a matter of congruence now, and go into the applying. Because I reckon the end of August, with all this, chaotic energy, having sort of slowed down a little bit, it will become very obvious that there's new healers needed, that there is new ways of approaching things needed on all these different levels of our, human life, collectively, emotionally, physically, as in medical, as in social and financial systems. Okay, it's this ongoing transmutation and shifting of power structures. And so if you can really allow this to emerge around you and for this to emerge within you, then you may be discovering that you have qualities that can help the collective, that can help, your neighbors or your family or your clients, to go into this sort of new upgraded technology and teach them ways how to apply it. This does not mean that you have to be a hands-on healer or a therapist or a coach or anything. That there's so many different ways to apply self-healing and energy work techniques in the practical life. I've made many examples in the past already, in business, in sports and athleticism, in science, you name it, in relationships, in all of these different areas that we're working on. You guys know that I always keep an eye on the cryptocurrency market as one of these examples of practical applications, and I see a lot of similarities here. So things have to come into refinement now, and they're gonna come into refinement. So in essence, besides the divine comedy aspect of August, which will challenge us a bit. Energy management and self-mastery are big subjects here. And if we can allow that, you know, and also go into the self-responsibility that comes with that, it's a huge liberation that can take place. And a whole new career maybe, or a whole new outlook on life can develop for you, okay? So let this happen. And some core questions for August, you know, sort of, hang on a sec. Sort of coaching questions for the month of August are, or self-coaching questions. What am I trying to control? Am I too controlling? Is this congruent? What I'm feeling, saying, doing, thinking. Does this resolve in a conflict, or does this increase in a conflict? You know, does this cause resistance? Or does it cause convergence, you know, and calm and peace? How can I apply the learned? How can I put this into action now? And what are the new tools that I have now? And how does that relate to my life? You know, I'm learning how to become more congruent. It relates to my life in the way that I begin to feel more trust in myself and my expression, you know, my communication of that, just as an example. So this concludes sort of the official forecast for August energies. And remember to engage, because the engaging allows you to own your own energies, and owning your energies allows you to master them, to manage them better, you know, and to manifest higher vibratory unfoldments of that. Don't be afraid of your inner darkness. Don't be afraid of sadness, of anger, of pain, you know, and grief and guilt and shame. Those things will all be triggered. They're normal states in all of us. Right? Just beware of your specialness, because that's the hardest one to overcome. All right. With this, and no further ado, welcome to August 2018, and I'm wishing you guys a wonderful ride. Thank you for coming.
Thank you.